Hey everybody, welcome back to History Student Reacts. Today we'll be watching HBO's Rome, Episode 2, How Titus Pullo Brought Down the Republic. So, I had a really good time with Episode 1. We were introduced to a lot of very important characters: Pompey, Caesar, Octavian, Mark Antony, Varenus, and Pullo. And the episode mainly looked at the rising tensions between Caesar and Pompey. Now, I imagine those tensions are going to continue in this episode. In fact, the title sort of hints at that. Now, if you want to see the full unedited version of this reaction, which I can't post to YouTube because of copyright reasons, then please check out the Patreon, which is linked in the description down below. And if you're watching this on Patreon, thank you so much for all the support. I hope you enjoy the unedited reaction. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's jump right into this episode. Back in Gaul. Caesar's camp, presumably?
They all get restless. With the fighting done, they want to be home with money in their pockets, not sitting in this dismal cold and wet.
Yes, this is true. We saw last time Caesar's conflict with the Gauls had ended, at least this campaign, and all of Caesar's men were pillaging, raiding, looting, taking women and children as hostages, basically reaping the reward of their campaign. Now that that's over, a lot of them are going to want to go home. You know, they've done what they came to do. They conquered this or that Gallic tribe. They've earned their riches. Now they want to leave. And some of them are just going to desert. You know, it's time to go. They're out of here.
This is a very precarious position. What happens in January when your term runs out and we're still sitting here?
Caesar's term as governor of several provinces, a position that was granted by the Roman Senate, basically in order to get Caesar out of Rome. Now he's worried when it runs out. He loses protection, he loses his position, he loses a lot of power. And so he has to decide what he's going to do. He probably has to act before his governorship runs out, if he wants to achieve something.
500,000? What's this?
I put Mark Antony up for election as People's Tribune. There were a lot of votes needed buying.
Mark Antony for People's Tribune? But he's...
You may speak.
I had understood the tribunate to be a sacred office with the power of veto over the Senate.
So,
And by the way, we are seeing, once again, the role of slaves in the Roman Republic. And this is something that they covered well in the last episode, something that I think often doesn't get covered enough. They're showing the sort of complex position that slaves held. Now, you know, a lot of regular daily tasks were done by slaves. Instead of servants, a lot of wealthy families would have slaves. But what we're seeing is that slaves could also serve pretty high positions. They could be in pretty important positions, which is sort of an odd thought to us today, because when we think of slavery, we often think of slavery in the last couple hundred years, such as American chattel slavery, slaves either working in the house or out on the plantation. And a lot of that was also true in ancient times, but slaves could also play rather important roles as educators, philosophers, tutors, stuff like that. Now, of course, they were still slaves, lacked autonomy, were mistreated, but they sometimes held these very interesting positions.
we shall send Strabo along to make sure Antony behaves himself.
Okay. More graphic content that is not going on YouTube.
I'm gonna drink all the wine, smoke all the smoke, and fuck every whore in the city.
Show some dignity. You are under the standard.
Let's talk to him.
He's not under the standard.
3 hours away from a wife he hasn't seen in 8 years. The man's terrified.
Surely a reunion is a happy event.
Talk of something else.
Terrified. What if she's lost her teeth? What if she's got skinny? What if she's been letting other men get between her legs?
I mean, as we saw last time, Varenus has been away from his life for his wife for a long, long time, and Pullo is kind of jabbing him in the ribs about that. Once again, we have... I'm not sure if we have any main characters in this series, but it seems that we are sort of following these two, who I was informed were actual figures of Roman history, served under Caesar, though I'm sure they're taking a lot of artistic license to create these two characters that we can follow along with. Varenas, dignified, modest. Pullo, dirty, swears a lot, very sexually voracious, sort of the different sides of Roman culture.
I love him.
We can already see the conflict brewing. We have the growing Pompeian faction, and now Mark Antony has arrived to represent the Caesarians. Once again, I will make this point. I'm not necessarily looking for 100% historical accuracy. I think it's absolutely fine for shows like these to take some artistic liberties, change things up a little bit. What I'm looking for is more authenticity. Does this feel true to Roman history, Roman life, the characters that are being portrayed? I think that's far more important for a show like this, to communicate the feeling of Roman history, to get the broad ideas across, rather than every historical intricacy, right? And so, also, not that I even know every historical intricacy, but I'm not looking to point out anything that is off, or when a timeline is off, or someone is somewhere where they shouldn't be. That doesn't matter as much to me as if they are portraying the time period, the people, authentically, right? I think you get what I mean by that.
Let them have the love of the plebs and the pros.
And I will say, we see Cato talking about the plebs and the proles. Someone commented on my last video that at this point there was no class divide between the patricians and the plebeians, right? And technically this is true. The plebeians had earned their rights a while ago. They had fought for them. But let's be real, even if there's official equality, oftentimes socially that same equality doesn't exist. At this point in Roman history, there absolutely still was a fairly significant class divide, and I think we've already seen that in this series.
But first, take the boy back to Atia. Get your reward, eh? Boy, tell your lovely mother I will see her later.
Jesus. Mark Antony, so coarse.
You leave this house this moment.
I will not. Octavia's my rightful wife.
You defy Caesar.
A fig for Caesar.
Uh-oh.
Fetch the dogs!
I hate you. I hate you. I hate you.
Silly girl.
Oh, poor Octavia. She is just not having a good time.
I'm only trying to do my best for her. Why can't you see that?
She is young, but you are very much mistreating her, using her as a political pawn. Last time, she thought she was going to have to marry Pompey, and that was bad enough. That didn't happen, which is a bonus, but it means that she has been forced to divorce her husband for nothing. No one gets anything out of it. And once again, I mentioned this last time, but you can see the role that family members, children, and in particular, women, young women, play in Roman politics. Family dynamics are used to cement political alliances, and so someone like Octavia, she lacks a lot of autonomy. She's being used as a chess piece by the elders in her family, whether it be her mother or Julius Caesar himself. They're all trying to do this chess game and using people as pawns.
My poor rabbit. Oh. So thin. Was it very horrible? Of course it was. I can't even...
Look, Octavian may be a spoiled little boy, but he is no rabbit. He's already shown us that.
Imagine, we shan't even talk about it. We should just put it totally out of our minds. We're back safe at home now.
He's a mama's boy.
Who are those?
You're to be very good to them, Mother. These are the men that took me from captivity.
I wonder it took you so long to subdue those odious Gauls.
There was a great many of them, Mom.
Great many. Very good.
Oh, man. These two Roman soldiers, as Roman soldiers often are now being involved in Roman politics. They could already tell, especially Varenas, that they're entering into a dangerous arena, even interacting with some of these people like Atia. They're certainly out of their comfort zone. But particularly from this point onwards, a lot of Roman soldiers who have no experience in politics will suddenly be thrust into the political sphere. Of course, Caesar is different. He is both a military man and a politician, but a lot of men like this, who primarily have military experience, are going to be joining the world of Roman politics in a big way.
They shall stay and eat, Mother.
Of course, there shall be bread and meat put out in the kitchen.
I mean, they shall eat with us.
It's symbolic. We shall all dine together as equals.
Symbolic. I will say, it's not really that Octavian is standing up for them. At least not standing up for them for them. Right? Like Vorenus wants to go see his wife. Octavian doesn't care. But Octavian is already sort of asserting himself here. Clearly, Atia is very uncomfortable with the idea of dining with these two fairly lowly individuals. Octavian's more on board, and he's pushing for it.
Jupiter Fulgor, we ask you to guide and protect this man, Marcus Antonius, newly elected tribune of plebs, champion of the people.
More odd Roman religious rituals.
And you, Lucius?
309 fighting men. I don't keep count on civilians.
You're very exact.
Well, the war temple requires an exact number when you make an offering. The priests offer a discount when you pass 100.
Priests. Crooks, many of them. I just talk direct to whatever god I'm doing business with. Bugger the priests.
Vorenus is a strict Catonian.
I believe in the divinity of the Republic. If Cato believes the same, then I suppose I am a Catonian.
But Cato represents the rights of the nobility.
Oh, we're seeing some very interesting stuff here about Roman class, Roman political inclinations, political factions, and also Roman religion, which was a very diverse field, right? Rome expanded, and as it expanded, it incorporated many different religions into sort of the Roman pantheon, right? And we're also seeing how all of these things, class, politics, religion, how they're all linked and tied together. Really fascinating.
The Roman people are suffering because slaves have taken all the work, because nobles have taken all the land, and the streets are full of the homeless.
Wow.
Well, I had no idea my son was such a firebrand.
The nobles say that Caesar is a war.
I mean, clearly Octavian is already learning from his dear uncle Gaius Julius Caesar. Of course, you know, Octavian, Caesar, the Julii family, a very well-respected, high-up aristocratic family, but Caesar is a firebrand populist, and we can see Octavian already taking after him.
They say that he wishes to march on Rome and make himself king.
That is sacrilege. No man of honor would follow him.
Well, I'm no man of honor then.
Oh.
As I say, Caesar should ride in here with elephants and squash Pompey and Cato and anybody else that wants
split.
Never mind the law. That's what I say.
You say that because you govern your reason no better than you govern your tongue.
Oh, this is great. So I've already talked about how Pullo and Vorenus represent two different sides of Rome, and now we're seeing that on a political level. Vorenus is very offended at the idea that anyone should trample over the Republic. He's true to the Republic. He is more a conservative, we might call him, or a traditionalist. Pullo, very crass as he is, does not care a lick about the Republic. He follows Caesar. Or at least that's what he's saying. And he thinks Caesar should do whatever he thinks is best. Fascinating.
You two make unlikely friends.
We are not friends. I am his superior officer.
By virtue of rank, if nothing else.
That is enough from you.
Do come and visit us again. Octavian needs reliable friends.
Friends.
They depend on you, I trust.
As you say, madam.
It's interesting. First off, Atia didn't want to sit down with them in the first place, but I'm sure that was amusing for her in a very patronizing way. Also, through having that conversation, Atia always sensing opportunity. She is clearly with that saying, you know, Octavian, those two might be good to have on your side. Not as friends, but as allies. So, let's keep in touch.
The cleaner brothels are in the Subura, next to the venereal temple.
Interesting. They are odd friends, if friends at all.
Ivy?
Wow. Uh-oh.
You're alive.
What child is that? Answer me. What child is that?
Oh no.
He's your grandson.
Speak sense, whore.
Wait now. Your grandson, the son of your daughter. His name is Lucius.
Oh my god, we're getting a lot at once. Oh my goodness. We got a lot of personal drama here. He's been gone for, what was it? Something like 7 to 11 years? I don't really remember. And, I mean, unsurprisingly, a lot has changed while he has been gone.
I order you to stop.
Your father's home. Girls, this is your father.
Jesus.
Daughters, I'm very pleased to find you healthy and good-looking. Benefice, you favor your mother, huh? Now you see how ugly your father is. Come.
That's awkward.
She's not simple, is she?
Greet your fathers properly as you've been taught to do.
They do not know this guy. What a meeting. Jesus. That was rather intense. You know, on like a personal level for our friend Varinus. I'm curious how this is all going to play out.
Pay stopped coming a year ago. The paymaster said you must be dead. They said they don't make mistakes.
Damned fools, I haven't seen to. Bit of a surprise to see me then, eh?
Bit surprised to be called whore.
That was wrong. I am sorry for it.
A whore in front of everybody.
I've said sorry.
Is it as you like it?
Less salt next time.
Jesus. This is uncomfortable.
My official spoils I put into slaves. They're at the market. I should clear 10,000 denarii.
Once again, we're getting a bit of the look at the particular culture of Rome. I've said it in this episode, and I said it in the previous one. I like how they're including slavery in this. Of course, if you're talking about daily life in Rome, you have to include slavery. It was present in many aspects of Roman life, but they're not shying away from it, which I appreciate. It's good to look at things truly and frankly. Also, just back to the personal drama, a very sort of uncomfortable, awkward meeting. This maybe is not the welcome Varinus expected, and, you know, for his wife and the rest of his family, he has been gone for years, and they haven't been getting his pay for at least a year, so I'm sure on some level they've kind of moved on. It's a very strange meeting, right? Now, here's Pullo. I feel like we're about to get to more stuff I'm gonna have to cut out completely. Yep. This ain't going on YouTube.
Face of Roma, for 12 moons hence, thou art tribune of plebs.
Okay.
I need a drink.
Indeed, sir. Perhaps after the meeting?
Cicero.
My dear Atia, a pleasure. Forgive us for imposing at such a ludicrous hour.
Cicero. I'm very curious to follow the exploits of Cicero throughout this series. A man who, I don't know if you'd say played both sides, but often remained in the center, and so was willing to talk to both sides. I think we're going to see a lot of interesting stuff from him. We also get a look at Mark Antony, who obviously does not respect the ceremony or the religion or anything official. Caesar knew this. We saw him talking about it earlier. He is not there to make a fine and respectable tribune of the plebs. He's there to defend Caesar's interests, the best he can at least.
Comprehend, woman. This meeting is invisible.
Cato.
General Antony, we are...
Oh, God, your beauty is painted. You are the crucifix of Venus.
Anthony.
You're inside the sacred precincts of Rome, but yet you wear the bloody red cloak of a soldier.
Che brutta figura. It completely fell from my mind. I'm most extremely sorry. Will you forgive me, friend Cato?
Oh, this is great. I love to see the crass Mark Antony mingling with these political figures. This is hilarious. Also, as we can see, once again, Cato is very insistent about tradition. Mark Antony couldn't care less. A red cloak, it's not that important, but this is emblematic of the bigger differences between the two. You know, the traditionalism of the Pompeians, and Cato in particular, and the radical reformism of Caesar and the Caesarians.
Oh, bene. Then let's stop all this blathering and get down to business, shall we?
Blathering, you say?
What a congery of heroes. Such vim. I feel like Helen of Troy. Would you adjourn to the courtyard?
We see the power Atia holds here, by the way.
I have been delegated by Caesar to negotiate a compromise. Caesar wishes to avoid bloodshed. He wishes to be seen as a man of reason and probity.
Octavian's listening.
Therefore, when his present term as governor of Gaul has ended, he is willing to accept command of a single legion province. Illyria, by preference.
I don't understand.
Command of a province.
Interesting.
So he would have legal immunity.
So we know, obviously, that both sides are going at each other. It's been made very, very clear, right? The Pompeians don't quite want to say it yet, probably because they're a little more traditional. But Caesar, Mark Antony, Caesar by extension, are willing to go right up and say, let's negotiate, okay? I know how it is. And Mark Antony's saying exactly what Caesar wants, and what they both know.
Avoided prosecution by accepting a few years' banishment.
Banishment for what?
For fomenting a tyranny, illegal warfare, theft, murder, treason.
The man's term of office ends in 2 weeks.
We say 6 months.
2 weeks!
He sits alone in the
Better, with one mutinous skeleton.
Oh, this is great. We can see Cato, the true believer. He is legitimately representing conservatism. He was an arch-conservative. We haven't seen much of Cicero in this scene, but I imagine trying to play the moderate. And Pompey, who is, let's be honest, looking out for himself and his position, and is very emotionally invested in this whole thing.
If he does not get a province,
Caesar will take all measures required to protect both his interests and those of the Republic.
I'm grieved and surprised. I'd hoped we would have a rational negotiation. If that is his last word, we shall go.
Pompey says this, he wants a rational negotiation, but he knows, they know, that at this point, they can't offer Caesar those terms and have them accepted. They know this. So in reality, Pompey wants Caesar to give up, right? So that's what Pompey's saying, but he's not being entirely honest.
Caesar is bluffing. He wishes to appear supremely confident. Evidently, he's desperately weak, weaker than we'd thought. This is a last-ditch attempt to frighten us into making concessions while he still has the semblance of an army. He's weak, Cicero, dying.
This is true, and Caesar is not weak and dying. He might be in a dangerous position, but he's very strong and willing to fight.
Where are you from, friend?
13th.
Better keep that quiet. This is deep Pompeian territory.
Really? I'm very curious about that. Obviously, Pullo is sort of in the streets with regular Romans, working class individuals, I guess you might call them. And we're seeing a Caesarian-Pompeian divide. Now, this is something I really don't know much about. Sort of the ordinary people during this time in particular. Now, we actually lack a lot of sources about the ordinary people because the writings we have, particularly the writings that have survived, are usually from people in positions of privilege. But I am curious if there was already such a political divide, with people seeing themselves as Pompeians at this point. I could certainly believe that. I just really don't know.
Come on, ladies, hear me now. Furies and river gods for 5.
Back to the baby. Oh my goodness. They certainly like their juxtaposition in this show. I think they use the sexual content as a bit of a jump from whatever else is happening.
You will be pleased to hear
Strabo.
that General Antony was as blithely arrogant and provocative as one could hope for. And Pompey and Cato were deeply offended by your negotiation.
And Strabo, of course, was also a real historical figure, a philosopher around this time.
He's lost a lot of money. He means no offense. Do you?
None at all.
Oh, God. I mean, you can already see a fight brewing between these two. Pullo's just gotten back from campaigning. He's got a bit of cash on him. He's probably getting drunk. He's ready for a fight. Not to mention the political divide. Oh my goodness.
Graces over 4.
Pullo's about to whack this guy in the face.
How you feel now, soldier?
Oh, God.
Feel good?
This is not gonna go well. Cheating. Okay, I thought he was just gonna hit him. Pullo goes straight into it. I should have expected this. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. I mean, I knew Pullo was gonna get himself into trouble, but that is a lot of trouble.
Who is this man?
Run, get a doctor.
I don't want people dying in my house.
Do as I say, woman.
Pullo's not doing well. And even after they had a little bit of an argument, and they're very different, he came right back to Varenus. Now, to be fair, that might be because Varenus was the only person he could think to come back to. But that does tell you something. Everybody's watching. Ancient life was rather communal. Oh. Well, this is also getting censored. Oh, she doesn't care. God. Is he gonna be okay after this? They're scalping him in order to, clean it out, pull the shards out. I guess it's just his scalp, not his brain. I don't think it could have got through the skull, but my goodness. Oh.
Come. When will he wake up?
Today? Tomorrow? Maybe never.
Oh, great. I wonder, we just saw him handing out those coins. I wonder how expensive that actually was to get something like that treated. I would guess that cost quite a bit, but I really can't tell.
Where are you going?
I have business.
Business? What business?
I understand that you're upset, but I will ask you, do not question me in that tone.
I get it, Niobe. Her husband's just come home. It's a big shock. All of a sudden, some half-dead man comes stumbling in, and Varenus is out of there. Varenus is interesting. I think Varenus seems like a respectful, probably caring guy, but he also represents sort of this traditional Roman patriarchal attitude towards family life. And, we can see how he treats his wife. He clearly does care about her. He was waiting to get back to her for all these years and appears to have remained faithful. But, we still see that relationship and those sort of gender roles at play. Interesting.
Tone. My father's cock! How's that for tone?
God damn. Oh, Jesus. Another aspect of Roman culture, which they've done a good job of portraying, that we're seeing once again.
Let us feed them up.
Put some fat on them. A couple of weeks of easy living, and these puppies will sell like duck hearts.
Is that expensive, fodder and storage?
No, Euro coop feed and storage double.
Oh, wow. Some gladiatorial battles.
A real showman. I am no judge of the sand, but sure, anyone can see he is rare large and aggressive.
You know, we can see Pompey is a military man. He built his career on campaigning. Cicero, and this is rather unique amongst men who got to the position that he did, so important. Cicero was not a military man, like, at all. He rose almost entirely through civilian politics, and I think that's what they were hinting at there.
When the Senate meets tomorrow, Scipio will propose an ultimatum be put to Caesar. I ask you as a friend to support the proposal and to enjoin your many friends to do the same.
Oh, I have not so many friends as all that.
The moderates follow you like sheep. Your vote is critical.
The ultimatum is...
Caesar's term of office is over. He must immediately disband his men, resign his command, and return for trial, else be considered an enemy of the Senate and people of Rome.
But he cannot accept that. Not without dishonor. Once declared hostile, he has nothing to lose. He will fight at any cost. You are declaring war.
Caesar will not have to accept or refuse the terms because Mark Antony will immediately use tribune's veto.
But then what is your purpose?
If the Senate votes against him, Caesar will finally understand.
Ah, okay. Fascinating. They're playing politics. So the bill itself doesn't actually matter. It's all about how much support they can get for the bill. That will send a message, even if Pompey knows Mark Antony will immediately veto it. Fascinating.
I am no friend to Caesar, nor any tyrant, but I cannot vote for a proposal I do not wish to see realized. It would be highly irreligious.
I have made a vow to Jupiter. Unless I get the full backing of the Senate tomorrow, I and all my legions will sail for Spain and leave you gentlemen to your own defenses.
Pompey's issuing threats. Well, kind of a threat. You know, what Pompey is saying is that, look, Caesar's gonna march on Rome, and if you don't support me, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna set myself up elsewhere, a better defensive position than here, and you can fend for yourselves. So it basically is a threat. He's not saying he's gonna do anything to them, but he's gonna leave them out in the cold. Which, you know, there's truth to that.
This is he, Crito.
Uh-oh.
He's a good boy, from a good family.
Varenus is not going to be happy.
The child of the Varini, fought at Magnesia and Zama.
I don't rightly know, sir.
You don't rightly know? Do you know that this girl is my property? That you should have asked my permission before you coupled with her?
I'm sorry, sir.
I am within my rights to kill you here and now.
Yeah, once again, and I just made this point earlier, Varenus, who I don't necessarily think is a bad guy, he's conforming to the standards of his time, which can make it difficult, I think, for us to sort of relate to him. But he is showing the patriarchal nature of society at this time. I think particularly the lower levels of society. Now, the upper levels of Roman society were still dominated by men, but there was a little more room for women, someone like Atia, to have more influence. So we're getting a good look at real Roman life in this scene, and throughout the scenes between Varenus and Niobe.
His mother's family are well found in Austria for many generations, and his father's a successful drover. They have a house on the southern crossroads.
I'm on the Capua run, mostly. That's 5,000 head a week sometimes, so...
Not too bad, Varenus.
When are you a man?
Next month, sir.
Next. Very well, you may marry my daughter. Assure your good people that the dowry will be appropriate.
What a relief for them.
How can I be pleased?
He makes her happy.
Well, she's an idiot then.
What a brute you are!
Oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, I mean, look, Veritas, he gets it. You know, he sort of understands. He's just living by his morals, you know? He's filling the role he knows. Back to the Senate.
The Senate will hear Metellus Scipio.
That voice.
Script fathers, I propose a formal motion. Unless Gaius Julius Caesar immediately lays down his command, disbands his legions, and returns to Rome for trial, this sacred assembly will declare him a public enemy of the Senate and people of Rome. After which time...
By the way, we could see, first off, the separation between the two sides sitting across from each other and the centrists in the middle. Of course, this is a model we very much recognize in today's world, one that was revived, I believe, during the French Revolution and followed by parliamentary republics thereafter, and other sorts of republics. Now we have Mark Antony back. He is there to sit with the Caesarians. I would say sit with the reformers, but now it truly is breaking down into Pompeians and Caesarians. You know, we're going through this transition from conservative versus reformer to Pompeian versus Caesarian. Mark Antony is now there. He will represent the faction, and we'll get to see what political acumen he has.
It will be the duty and the obligation of every Roman to do him harm or to kill him if they are able.
What will Cicero do?
Motion is proposed. Those in favor make it known.
Oh, what will Cicero do? Everyone's looking to him. Like, everyone's looking to him on both sides and in the middle. And there he goes. Oh, wow. We have a melee breaking out in the Senate. Oh no. Oh no.
I demand the floor. I demand the floor. Give him the floor. I veto the motion. Tribune vetoes the motion.
Of course, Mark Antony doesn't know what he's doing, so he had to be told to veto it.
Scipio's motion against Caesar. It doesn't stand, does it?
Stands. Entered in the annals.
Despite the Tribune raised his veto?
Not heard. Not fully.
Okay, so this is why a melee immediately broke out. It wasn't because the motion was proposed. It's because it was heard, it was passed, before Mark Antony could offer his veto, which is probably exactly the opposite of what Cicero wanted. You know, he was talking with Pompey about it, and Cicero was not fully on board with this bill, this motion in the first place. But particularly not if it would actually go into effect. He said he didn't believe it, right? He made the point that he wouldn't side with the bill he didn't actually want passed. Now, we saw him stand up there. Clearly, he had decided that regardless of his principles, he had to support this motion. But unfortunately, it's gone a little bit further than he expected.
Let me be clear with you. I do not wish that a motion as important as this should stand on a mere trick of procedure.
Trick, you say? This is a religious matter. There are no tricks in religion.
Session was not formally...
See, and this is where it gets complicated. The Romans loved their procedure. Now, they would come to break their procedure time and time again as we get closer to the end of the Republic, highlighted, I'm sure, many times throughout this series. But, and we've already talked about how class, politics, and religion were all mixed up together. This gives you a fraction of understanding of why this procedure was so important to them. It wasn't all religion. Of course, there were political aspects, but part of it is that There were people who firmly believed in the religious aspects of all of this. As we've seen, not everybody. Certainly not everybody. People had a variety of religious beliefs. Some were far more faithful than others, but for some, this is not a trick, this is not a procedural thing, this is a religious thing. Very interesting, but we're seeing what Cicero's trying to do here.
Correct?
Correct.
So, when we reconvene, it will formally be the same session. Then Tribune Antony may use veto on the motion.
That is so. Juno Inferna, senile old fool.
Only say so to begin with. Mark Antony must not be harmed or hindered in any way. In any way, it is vitally important that he be allowed to veto the motion.
Fascinating.
If he does not, Caesar is declared a traitor, then he has no choice but to oppose me openly, which means civil war.
It's fascinating. We see the underhandedness of the political negotiations, the maneuvering of it all. This is Pompey's motion, right? But he does not want it to pass. He wants more than anything this motion to be vetoed. And so now he's saying to his men, hey, make sure Mark Antony is not hindered. We need him to veto this. It's obviously kind of a funny situation.
The Senate will reconvene tomorrow. Formally, it is the same session, so you may yet exercise your veto on the motion.
Unless Pompey tries to stop me.
True.
Oh, they're not on the same page.
Rally the men together.
Oh, no! Okay, this is great. So we can see the Pompeians, primarily Pompey, and Cicero by extension, he is now part of this, and the Caesarians, aka Mark Antony, are on completely different pages. Mark Antony thinks Pompey has just made his opening salvo. This is the beginning of his open attack on Caesar. That is not so. Pompey is trying in a sort of underhanded way to prove to Caesar that he doesn't have the support he needs. Mark Antony doesn't get that. If Caesar was there, he might get it, but to be fair, he might not. This is a pretty aggressive motion to file, and so now things are escalating. Now, Pompey intended to sort of escalate things. Well, he intended to make a more discreet attack on Caesar. Now things are really gonna get out of control, I think.
You were wrong, friend wife. He's a good man, your man.
A good man, you say?
Oh.
For years and years, I'd lie awake at night and beg all the gods to send him
Oh,
home.
no.
I'd hear of this battle or that battle. I'd see him clear as glass, lying dead and bloody in the mud somewhere. I was lonely. I was so lonely. For 8 years, I wept.
Depending on what is said here, I think Varenus is either going to understand better what his wife is going through or be extremely angry. Depends how she ends this monologue.
Now he's home and I wish he was in Gaul. He's a cold, mean brute. Not one loving word. To me or his daughters. Not once since he's been home.
Is no skilled hand with the women. But in all these years I fought with him, he never took a woman. Pullo, he'd say to me, Pullo, my old friend, I have a wife back home, Niobe is her name, and she's worth more to me than all the
Pullo standing up for his homie.
I thank you for your kind words, but I know you lie. He's no friend of yours, he told me so.
Why, he hasn't. He has an ill temper. He'd say anything.
Antony needs every man. If you can walk, we rendezvous at the house of Attia.
Oh, yeah. A storm is coming.
It saddens me that you're unhappy.
Oh.
Because I have deep affection for you.
See, he does care. We know that. We know he cares. And he likes Pullo more than he lets on. Well, maybe he doesn't actually, but Pullo likes him.
Well, this is a merry do. Davy, my honey, look alive, at least. Poor Antony must think himself dead and swimming in Lethe water. Talk to the poor man. Ask him questions. One would think she'd been raised by Germans.
General Antony, is my mother...
Attia, oh, I can see the subtitles what she's about to say, but Atia always willing to take out her frustration on her daughter. Just not cool. Well, let's see what Octavia's about to say.
The screaming irritates you.
Excuse me?
When you and my mother are in coitus, there's a deal of screaming. I find it extremely irritating.
My goodness.
I wondered whether you did also. Perhaps you like it. Testament to your skills.
So spiteful, and for what? Shame on yourself.
What is happening right now? I don't know if this is going to have the intended effect, to be honest with you. I mean, I think, frankly, Mark Antony's probably interested in this. So, you know, I mean, sort of an interesting tactic to go for, right?
She has you exact.
Oh my goodness.
We show our strength. We show them who owns the forum. But we do not touch them.
Fair. Mark Antony, I mean, he's an absolute buffoon in the show and, you know, in real history. But I gotta say, he has been pretty amusing, pretty funny so far.
Antony must not be touched. Kill them all, I say. None of that. Pompey's strict.
This is not gonna go well.
Him who starts trouble will be on a cross at nightfall. So no blood.
Oh, jeez. Can't believe Pullo's up already. Oh. Oh no. Don't cause any trouble, Pullo. Oh god. Oh shit. Trouble has come to us.
Rally to me. Rally to me.
Mark Antony loves this, by the way. Oh shit. I mean, yeah, Pompey, you are a military man. Mark Antony knew what was coming, right? You can tell. I mean, he's no genius, but he knows exactly what is about to happen. Mark Antony, if you could say anything about him, he certainly knows what these men are all about, right? He's down there. He's leading from the front. He knows what's going to happen when you have this extremely tense situation. You have a group of Pompey's men guarding the streets, right? And then Antony approaching with all of his men, which he summoned. I feel like he kind of knew how this was going to go down. Pompey, frankly, should have known better. He really didn't think some trouble was going to break out. Oh, God. It's too late. It's way too late. Jesus. Oh man, Varenus.
You have what you wanted, Cato. Caesar has no choice now. Come the spring,
yep,
he will cross the Alps,
Pompey knows it,
legions, and march on Rome.
Now, of course, this is basically Pompey's fault, but Pompey didn't want it to end up this way. Cato, on the other hand, he would keep pushing until it has to end up this way. That is sort of the difference between these two. Cato absolutely wants to take down Caesar at any cost, and he's sort of got tunnel vision. Pompey more wants to secure his own position. Now, in doing that, he knows he has to defeat Caesar, but he's got a bit of a broader view. That's one of the differences between these two. But in this case, sort of Pompey's machinations have led to this situation.
236 head. 7th cohort. 12 dead, 6 of flux, 6 of fighting, 3 under medics, 3 absent, believed fled.
Caesar's checking his numbers.
242 head.
Soldier, how far behind you is Mark Antony?
No more than an hour, sir.
Sound assembly.
Sir.
By order of the Senate, Gaius Julius Caesar is declared an enemy of Rome. All good citizens are bound to do him harm if they are able.
I'm very curious to hear the public response to this because, of course, a lot of people believe in the Republic. And if they feel someone is an enemy of the Republic, they're not going to like that guy. But Caesar was also pretty popular. He's a populist, right? He's a political reformer. What he's done in the interest of the people. Now, in reality, what he does is in his own interest, right? But he has helped the people with several political reforms. So I imagine there's going to be at least some people amongst the regular citizens of Rome who are still going to believe in Caesar. Here we go. Verina's still hunched over. Oh.
After all these years, Pompey surprises me. I had hoped to provoke some kind of a...
Now, of course, Caesar isn't there. He's planning all this from his camp, which, you know, he has moved closer to Rome. But from Caesar's perspective, it seems like Pompey has just unleashed upon him. He doesn't know of Pompey's plan to demonstrate Caesar's lack of support without getting into an open conflict. That's not what this looks like to him. It seems like Pompey just took the first strike, metaphorically and literally.
Sure, but to try and kill a tribune.
Yep.
In the Forum. The man's found some hard black iron in his soul.
Sure it was yon demented little worm Cato put him up to it. It's excellent, this. So what next?
Let's see what the men have to say.
Oh, yes.
Oh, don't do that. You look just right
Yep.
as you are.
Caesar knows how to appeal to the people.
At Thermopylae.
Brilliant. I love this depiction of Caesar. I think they've done a fantastic job with all the characters. This is exactly right. Of course, you would clean yourself off after getting attacked and covered in blood. But Caesar knows, in order to inspire the men, to make them feel indignant at this attack upon one of their own, you want to, wheel Mark Antony out as he is. And Mark Antony clearly finds that a little amusing. He's not the idealistic type. He'll go along with it, of course.
Any of your people I can mention?
Titus Pullo took the head off the first man that came.
Yes! Pullo's getting a shout out.
Pompey and the Senate have formally declared that Gaius Julius Caesar is an enemy of Rome. They have declared that I am a criminal. They have declared, in effect, that all of you also are criminals.
Rope them in. Rope them in.
Tribune's veto was not exercised. People's Tribune Mark Antony and 50 men of the 13th were assaulted by 1,000 head of Pompeian scum.
Also exaggerating their numbers.
A tribune of the plebs assaulted on the steps of the Senate House.
How unrepublican.
Terrible sacrilege. Our beloved Republic is in the hands of madmen.
Now Caesar can play to love of the Republic. Brilliant.
I stand at a fork in the road. I can abide the law and surrender my arms to the Senate and watch the Republic fall to tyranny and chaos. Or I can go home with my sword in my hand and run those maniacs to the Tarpeian Rock.
Yeah. That's what Caesar's men want. I don't know about Varenus.
Legionary Titus Pullo, step forward.
Get up there, Pullo.
It was Legionary Titus Pullo drew first blood. Here's 500 denarii.
Very grateful, sir.
Are you with me, Titus Pullo? Will you come with me to Rome?
Yep.
Yes. Yes, sir. Certainly.
Titus Pullo is with me. And you?
Interesting.
Are you with me?
Show the men they've got something to gain by going with him, using Pullo as a prop, a political prop. Which I think Pullo clearly realized, but he is with Caesar, and you can see him smiling, so he's encouraged by the response. I mean, we saw earlier in the episode, Pullo is willing to follow Caesar, and now he has a chance to prove it. What do we have here? Oh. Caesar's legions. Oh, of course, here we are. Crossing the Rubicon, presumably.
Ah, you're awake. Water?
It's been moving.
It is a little convenient that Vorenus has been injured because he made it quite clear earlier in this episode that he would not go along with something like this. But now he's sort of been roped into it.
It's a river. What river?
Here we go. You know Vorenus.
This is a Rubicon.
Stay calm.
This is rebellion and treason, and I am no traitor.
It's too late now. We're across. We're in Italy. You're a rebel, whether you like it or not.
Caesar.
Yeah.
Caesar
Vorenus has been
done.
pulled
He
in.
had no choice, had he? Pompey did try to kill Mark Antony after all.
You of all men should not dare make that argument.
How's that?
You know who was being attacked.
Ah.
What do you mean?
Vorenus knows.
Matter now. We're all dead men anyway. We'll all be hanging from crosses in the Appian Way before the week's out.
We'll be all right. Have some more water. Better to die of thirst. Don't be foolish. Drink.
Vorenus opposes this, but Vorenus is also a man of discipline and duty. So if he's being dragged along, he'll probably serve. Though, as the series goes on, I'm curious to see what happens to Pullo and Vorenus. Also, now, the title of this episode, How Titus Pullo Brought Down the Republic, yeah, we can see what that meant.
Caesar is in Italy!
Yes, he is.
What can it be? Caesar is in Italy!
Bro, who are you?
Have you heard?
I heard.
What's going to happen?
War is going to happen.
Yep. Vorenus is making war again, but this time not in far-off Gaul, but in your home, Rome. Jeez. Yep. Ending it there. My goodness. Yeah, that was a great episode. I really enjoyed this one. The first episode was fantastic. This one was also fantastic. I love the political machinations that they're showing. You know, I feel they're really doing this conflict justice, at least so far. I love how they're presenting Roman life. I think they're really showing it authentically. Like I said, I'm not looking for full historical accuracy. It's not about the little things that they may have gotten right or wrong. I think it's about the wider image. And I think they do a really good job of that. In addition, I think they do a good job of communicating how some of these historical figures actually were. Once again, not about the ins and outs of historical accuracy, but do they get the idea right? And from what I can tell, and from my knowledge, I think that they do. Yeah, so we saw that tension between Pompey and Caesar rising last time, and now basically the Civil War has begun. A good place to be, at least for our purposes. If you're there, a bad place to be, but for entertainment purposes, a good place to be. I'm very excited to get to the next episode. Once again, if you guys would like to see the full unedited version of this reaction, which I can't post here because of copyright, then please check out the Patreon. It is linked in the description. And if you're watching on Patreon and you've made it to this point, thank you very much for all the support. I know a lot of you joined to see these reactions specifically, and I'm going to keep them up. Same goes for you on YouTube. I'll be keeping these reactions going because you seem to like them, and I certainly enjoy them. Anyway, with that out of the way, I hope you guys are all having a good day today, and I will see you all again next time. Goodbye.